Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, being in love with someone is always complicated, and if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide ranging variety of industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more. In a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do because you're listening right now. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can hit that like button, give us the old 5-star rating, and hit subscribe. Basically, wherever you get your podcasts. We're over at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, pretty much all platforms. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, we're on the Twitter, and we're on the Instagram at where else? We're at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large, because we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it. Guess what? We love it when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please pay us a visit. On this episode, we got a good one, boys and girls. It is in theaters tomorrow. It just had a very successful festival run, also playing here in Toronto. It is called The Swearing Jar. It's it's a lovely little drama about life, love, losing people, finding someone else that you love, and all the complicated, messy shit in between. It's really a fantastic piece of work from director Lindsay McKay, and it stars Adelaide Clemens, Kathleen Turner, and Patrick J. Adams. And again, for anyone wanting a little sweet, but a little honest, a little, romance and a little bit of comedy, but it's genuine as well. It's a very genuine movie. I think that's the best way to describe it. I would definitely recommend checking out The Swearing Jar, which I know is hitting theaters here in Toronto and across Canada this coming Friday. But before you do that, why don't you check out our talk with one of the stars of the film, Patrick J. Adams, who you might recognize from, well, a few things. He's been in some pretty high-profile Canadian stuff, some interesting stuff, but also he was Mike Ross on Suits for 8 seasons plus, really. But he does a fantastic job in this really intimate but very honest piece of cinema, which I absolutely loved, and I hope you do check out. But like I said before, go check out The Swearing Jar, which is in theaters tomorrow. I think it's playing at the Varsity here in Toronto, and it's playing a few other places across the country. But first, please check out our talk with Patrick J. Adams, because between you and me, it's a pretty good one. All right, well, Patrick, obviously, man, first off, just officially, thank you so much for the time today, and congrats on the movie, man. I thought it's a hell of a piece of work.
Oh, thanks.
Now,
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. We're really proud of it.
I guess walk me through sort of your initial reaction of seeing the script, because I mean, your character, I mean, you've been playing different characters for so long, and I mean, this feels like you just got to be a regular guy in this movie, as opposed to something like Suits or having a
Yeah.
John Glenn kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. It was immediately relatable. Kate's script was beautiful. I just thought the way the story was constructed and the reveals and it was just handled so gracefully. And it was clear that, I hadn't seen the play or read the play. This had been a play before it had
Right.
become a film, but you could just tell this was a piece of material that had been cared for and shepherded and rallied around for a really long time, and she knew it inside out. She knew these characters inside out, and I just felt that heartbeat running through it. And yeah, for me it was like, I the first time I read the script, I wasn't a father because it had been around years ago. It had almost come together, and then it went away, and then I got to read it again, and I had become a father. And both times I was drawn to it, but being a father, I was like electrified by it. I was like, this is so relatable. Anybody who's right there on the precipice of becoming a parent is going to understand this, and anyone who's thinking about becoming a parent is going to
For
get
sure.
something out of it. So I just thought the characters leapt off the page, and And then when I got to hear the music for the first time, I thought this is going to be really, really unique. So I was happy to be a part of it.
No, I mean, obviously, Canadian production, independent cinema. I mean, do you get a lot of time to
Mm.
rehearse and sort of work through the material, or do you have to sort of run and gun with it?
No, you're really run and gun, which, I strangely, sometimes I like it. It depends. You need all the right players. I like running and gunning when you're running and gunning with professionals, people who are like coming with ideas and, ready to pivot, and, they have ideas, but maybe, if something comes along that is better than their idea, the ego goes out of the window and you just go with that idea. I kind of enjoy that. It can be a little crazy if it's disorganized, or if people, aren't working in good faith together. But with this, I could tell, beginning with Kate, who had created it, and then Lindsay McKay, our incredible director, she got it. And then when I got to meet Adelaide, it was just like, we've got all the right people. And Kathleen Turner, I mean, my God, what a professional. So it's a lot of run and gun. We didn't get a lot of rehearsal. We were in 2 weeks of quarantine. There was that time
Right.
when you came to
Right.
Canada, you had to quarantine. So, alone in a house for 2 weeks, Zooming with each other to do rehearsals. And then just sort of, hoping and praying that when you get in the room, you're gonna, hit the ground running. But again, when you're dealing with professionals, that's like, it's just such a gift because you've got people who are showing up ready to go. And then we certainly had that.
Does that sort of run and gun mentality leave you as an actor like room to wiggle or room to move, or were Lindsay and Kate very sort of, married to the words on the page, as it were?
No, 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 no. We were gifted the like move it around, make it yours. I try and be very respectful of a writer. I'm a theater guy, sort of through and through. So my first position is like, I want to make the writing work. The words are the words. But when you're in a position like this, you talk to the writer, you go, how much freedom do we have? Do you want us? Because the feel of this film is so intimate that a lot of times the writer will want you to like make it your own now. And there's a fine line of how do I balance the like making sure that we do justice to this work you've spent a lot of time with, while at the same time making it feel real in the moment. Because maybe this scene was intended to be in a living room, but we're in a kitchen and the kitchen small, and so there's always these little elements that are come into it. But as long as you're all on the same page about what is this scene about, what do we need to get from it, and make sure that we're all on the same page about that, then having a little bit of freedom to change things around really helps to make that happen quickly. And we had that freedom here, and I really appreciated that.
Well, I would imagine it's necessary too, because I mean, especially for your character, like he definitely has to go through these moments of fragility where, I mean, Adelaide is the rock, and I mean, you're the one who has to sort of have this uncertain tone about him. I've got to imagine
Yeah.
it's an interesting space to find as an actor.
Yeah, having such a big secret. I think every character has some secret that they're holding. I think that's what makes drama drama. It's even what makes comedy comedy, that we have secrets. But for this character specifically, he's carrying a whopper of a secret, and finding a way to do that in a way that is understandable and relatable, and that the audience doesn't judge him too harshly, was a big part of the work that we did together. And what I was always sort of fighting for, I was like, I want to make sure, because there's a version of this where you could be really mad at this guy for
Yeah.
not coming clean about some of this, and putting Carey in the position that he puts her in. And so we were constantly just like massaging, like, I want to make sure that, while he's doing something that I think is ultimately a mistake, he's doing it for the right reasons, and we understand those reasons. And that's just a matter of conversation and on the fly, like, after a take, was that it? Could I be softer? Should I be a little meaner? And just trusting the people around you. Let's go again. Give us one where he's a little darker about that secret. And then, they find it in the editing room. And you just have to be ready to work quick and try new things. And I think just a bunch of years on a TV show, one thing I got really good at was like not being precious about
Right.
anything, and try new things, try it all, and trust that in the edit, the people will just have what they need in order to craft the story properly. And Adelaide and I were both really on the same page about that, and it was just such a gift to be able to jump in the deep end together and just play.
Well, and I mean, that's the thing that I think is special about this movie, because there is, I mean, when it's serious, but when it's joyful and happy, it's joyful and happy, and it's not leaning on beats and it's not leaning on
Hmm.
tropes. Like when you read a script or when you're going out
Hmm.
for something, like how important is it to find something that has that just a little enough of a difference that, not just you as an actor are engaged, but maybe even you as a fan or of a film fan are engaged.
Yeah, it's hard to answer. You just kind of know. It depends where you're at in your life and what's going on in your life, but you can feel in a script when somebody's trying to be playful
Right.
and flirty, and it's just like a wash.
Right.
It's just like yeah, yeah, and then they're just super cute and just do it, and that is not fun to play. It's not specific. And with this, you pick it up and you're like, they're alive on the page already. You could feel the years of rehearsal and performance that this play went through. You can feel Kate's voice shining through. And so just the next stage of that is like, let's get in a room with people who are playful and let's trust each other and let's see how quickly we can form this relationship. I think it's such a beautiful challenge of being an actor, is this sort of, how do we create immediate intimacy, love, history, without being too heady about it. Like we're not going to get on a Zoom call and, talk about what our wedding looked like and what, like we're not having to like think our way through it. We're like feeling our way through it. And this script just had so much feeling in it. It was so evident right from the beginning, not just the script, but the music. There's so much, there's such a beating heart through it that you just have to sort of arrive with that heart. And for me, having been a father already, and I was about to become a father for a second time. My wife was like in the 8th month of pregnancy when we were shooting this film. Like I was just so ripe with the feelings that this movie, the fears and the feelings and the emotions of becoming a parent and the terror of who are we going to be, and are we going to be good enough to raise a kid in this world, and do we have what it takes? Like it was all right there. I just had to like not be afraid to bring it, and instead of trying to put it to the side and pretend it wasn't there, like bring it to set and see what of it was useful to the story.
And I mean, just in talking to you, and I mean, just in thinking about it now, it really feels like there are certain similarities with sort of the run and gun mentality of doing sort of indie and just getting there and having to feel it versus sort of maybe your experiences on a long TV show where you're still run and gun, but it's run and gun because you've got so much you've got to go through and you've got to sort of dissect the material and sort of break it down and sort of really have a chance to sort of sit in the character. Like, how are the two different for you as an
It
actor?
it all it all feels run and gun to me, if I'm honest, David. Like I don't know what it feels. I don't think I've been on a set that doesn't feel run and gun, and maybe that's just how sets are now. Even on Suits, uh, the difference is you have money. That's it.
Right,
There's a nice budget. There's a little bit of breathing room. If you don't get that scene tonight, gonna be able to move it onto the schedule on Friday or something. Like there's a little bit of ease about it, but you're still shooting 10 pages a day or something on Suits, or in any of these shows. Like you don't have a lot of lounge time of like, let's sit in this and try
right,
it out. You know
right,
what? Let's go to lunch and we'll come back and we'll do it. Like it's go time. And these are expensive, any production's expensive to be on and no one wants to waste any money. So, I haven't done a lot in my career that feels like I had a lot of time other than this play I just did in New York, which, we put on hiatus because of we almost did it before the pandemic, and then all of a sudden we had 2 years. So then
right,
I had 2 years to
right.
sit and think and prep and work with a script, but that was just circumstantial. That was not a normal situation. So I don't know. I'm pretty used to run and gun. It seems to me to just kind of be like you got to be good at it. Maybe as I get older, I'll be better at kind of slowing things down a little bit. I think there are certain productions that would benefit from that. Like, hey, let's stop rushing. Let's take a beat, and we'll make sure that we're doing this the right way. And on anything, even the run and gun things, I sometimes try and do that. I feel like if we're in a rush, we're missing it. But I think it's a skill set you kind of have to have in this business. Is like we've got to make this real. We've got to make it. We've got to bring our feelings to it. We've got to bring our homework to it. because the sun's going to go down and it's got to get shot today.
For sure.
And a lot of times, amazing stuff happens in those moments, that when the sun's going down and you have one shot to get this thing right, suddenly somehow it happens, especially when you're working with a bunch of professionals. And we just got so lucky on this that we had, nothing but professionals.
Well, that's fair. So I guess the eternal difference between the big budget project and the indie project will always be catering, right?
Yeah, that's a big difference. Bring your own lunch to a lot of things.
No, I mean, I'm just curious because, I mean, like you said, you do have a theater background. And I mean, I always like to ask this question. Was there like a moment or a performance or something you saw as a younger man that had sort of the light bulb go off for you that made you want to be an actor?
Oh, man. I mean, there was so much. There isn't really a light bulb moment. I mean, I've always said that my light bulb moment when I was about 6 years old and I saw Back to the Future for the first time, and I was like, well, this is the greatest thing I've ever
That
seen
counts.
in my life.
That totally counts.
And my dad was like, well, yeah, they're actors, and that they explained to me that this was like a thing that people did, and I was like, that's a job. But I've been moved. I'm consistently moved by actors. I think some of the first plays that I saw when I was a kid and feeling transported and feeling like, wait, we all come to this dark room and all of a sudden we're, on a ship for 2 hours, or we're in a, magical forest. I just remember feeling, I was a really sensitive kid, and the world was a tough place for me when I was young. And I just remember when I was in a movie theater or I was in a theater, I didn't feel any of the fear or the terror that I kind of had as a kid of like, where am I going to fit in and who am I going to be and who are my friends? And so that was the sign to me that like there was something pretty mystical and magical happening in these places. And as I got older, I just thought I just knew that I didn't know if it was going to be as an actor or a director or I just knew that being a part of telling stories was something that I needed to do, and continues to happen that way. I mean, I watch a lot, and just seeing a performance that makes you forget that you're watching a TV show or
right
draws you in, it's super relatable, and it transforms your experience, makes you feel part of something bigger than yourself. I mean, it's a pretty important, magical thing. So yeah, I don't know. I wish I should have a better answer for that. I'm going to think on it, David.
No, that's a good answer, though. I like that
a,
answer. I like that answer. But I mean, just to put a bow on this, and I mean, I'm kind of curious because I can imagine as a younger actor, you're always having to sort of balance doing the jobs that you want that will creatively satisfy you versus the ones that are maybe paying a bit more or paying at all. And I'm kind of curious, in your life, have you managed to find that balance between doing the jobs you want and still getting paid, or is there still sort of that back and forth pull?
It's always a balance. And sometimes it's not just about getting paid. It's just making sometimes the jobs that are going to pay you are also the jobs that are going to have money to pull it off, the thing off, like that's kind of more how I think about it. Like I love to have financial security, don't get me wrong, but most of the time it's like, are we going to have the money to tell this story properly? And sometimes that's reflected in if you're going to get paid on it. But no, I mean, my first and foremost, because of Suits, I've had the blessing of, I had many years where I got to sort of put money away, store it, and take care of myself and make sure I had what I need. So I have some freedom to make sure that the first thing is that something's got to speak to some part of me. If that's not there, then I just can't do it. I don't know. I can't just take a job because there's money in the bank, because it'll be no fun, and I won't be very good because this doesn't light me up in any way. So I learned early on, and I think my parents enforced in me that, what we do in this life, like if money's the first priority, then it's probably not going to make you happy. And I sort of follow that. So I don't really make many decisions based on money, other than, like I said, if you read a script and you're like, this needs money, this is not going to work unless there's some money behind it.
Right.
But that's sort of a different beast than am I going to be making money on it? I just really want to work on incredible material with people who are passionate. And somehow it seems like making that the focus of my decision-making process has thus served me pretty well. So I'm going to keep on doing that, but I don't know. I might have no money in the bank in 3 years and I'll make a different decision. We'll talk then.
Well, you know what, man? I think you're doing pretty good so far because I mean, Swearing Jar definitely speaks
Thanks,
to
David.
people, and it does in the right way. It's such an honest and really sort of natural piece of storytelling that I mean, I was drawn into it from minute one, and I can't wait for more people to see it. And again, congrats on the work, and thank you so much for the time today, man.
Thanks, David. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.